Lesson 9-1, Ratios and Rates. And in this lesson, you'll learn to write ratios as fractions in simplest form and to determine unit rates. Why is it important? Because you can use unit rates to compare prices of different brands of the same product at the grocery. Okay, so let's define what the ratio is. We defined this last year. A ratio is comparison of two numbers by division. So if the measurement around someone's wrist is 5 inches and the measurement on his or her head is 20 inches, the ratio comparing wrist and head measurements can be written as follows: 5 to 20, 5 colon 20, and 5 over 20. So ratios are often expressed as fractions in simplest form or as a decimal. So these are all ways of writing a ratio. And again, it is a comparison of two numbers by division, meaning this fraction bar, it will indicate division. Okay? So if we express 5 over 20 as a fraction, okay, the simplest form of that ratio is 1/4. Why? Because you want to find the GCF, okay, of 5 and 20, and the GCF is 5, so you divide both sides, both the numerator and the denominator by 5, okay, and that's the reason why you get 1/4. And again, we talked about how to write ratios or fractions in simplest form. Best way to do that would be using the prime factorization. Prime factors of 5 is 5, prime factors of 20 are 2, 2, and 5. And if you cancel out the common factors, okay, so if you cancel out the common factors, that's a 1, that's a 1, end up with 1/4. So again, this is still the best way of finding the simplest form of a fraction. Okay, now the way of doing that is by using a calculator, of course. So if you use a calculator, 5 divided by 20 will give you a decimal, which is 0.25. Okay, let's take a look at example number 1. Express each ratio as a fraction in simplest form and as a decimal. 6 free throws made out of 10 attempts. Okay, so if you do that, 6 free throws out of 10 attempts, you have 6 out of 10, which is equal to 3/5. Okay, we found the GCF of 6 and 20 to be 2. So divide the numerator and denominator by 2, you get 3/5. Or as a decimal, you divide 6 by 20, 6 by 10, you end up with 0.6. So 3/5 or 0.6 of the free throws were made. Okay, and letter B, $375 in commission to $9,375 in sales. Again, this is our fraction, 375 over 9,375, and then we express this in simplest form, meaning we find the prime factorization of 375 and the prime factorization of 9,375. 375 prime factorization would be 3 times 5 times 5 times 5. Using the factor tree or the drop-down method, and the prime factorization of 9,375 would be 3 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. Again, using the factor tree or the drop-down method. And simply cancel or cross out the common factors. That's a 1, that's a 1. Common factor, 1, 1, 1, 1, and 1, 1. And you end up with 1 over 125. You want to make that into a decimal, simply divide 375 by 9,375. You end up with 0.04. So 1/25 or 0.04 of the sales is commission. A rate is a special ratio. It is comparison of two measurements with two different units of measure. So again, a definition of a rate is comparison of two numbers. Those two numbers will have two units of measure, like miles and gallons or cents and grams. So the ratio 89 cents over 15 ounces compares the price and size of a can of soup. So that means it's 89 cents per 15 ounces. To find the price per ounce, simply simplify the rate so that the denominator is 1 ounce. So a rate with a denominator of 1 is called a unit rate. So again, we defined what the rate is, and when you have a rate whose denominator is 1, it's called a unit rate. Let's take a look at example number 2. Many grocery stores list their unit price of items on the shelf tag so that customers may compare similar items. The cost of a 12-ounce box of brand A cereal is $3.29. A store brand cereal that is similar to brand A costs $4.89 for an 18-ounce box. Okay, which cereal has a lower per ounce cost? So we want to find the cheaper cereal, meaning that the cereal with a lower per ounce cost would be the cheaper cereal. So brand A, what do we know in brand A? Oops, sorry. It's 329 cents per 12 ounces. So the GCF of 329, okay? And sorry, to be able to make it into a unit rate, we need to make our denominator equal to 1. So that's why we divide 12 by 1. Okay, so by dividing 12 by 1, we end up with 1 ounce. And if we divide the denominator by 1, naturally we need to divide the numerator by 1. So we divide 329 cents by 1. Okay, and you should end up with, okay, using a calculator, 329 divided by 12 will give you 27.417. Okay, so brand A would cost 27.42 cents per ounce. Let's look at brand B, or the store brand, that is. Okay, and in the store brand, sorry, out of the way right there, it's 489 cents per 18 ounces. And to be able to make this into a unit rate, we need to divide the denominator by 18. And that's the reason why we need to divide the numerator by 18 as well. Using a calculator, it's 27.17 cents per ounce. So if you notice, the cost is about 27.4 cents per ounce for brand A. For brand B, for the store brand, 27.2 cents per ounce. So the store brand is less expensive per ounce. Okay, you usually see this when you go to Walmart and stores like that. Okay. Group of Greek mathematicians called Pythagoreans studied the geometric figures and objects in nature that display the golden ratio. The great painter Leonardo da Vinci and many other artists and architects have used the golden ratio to create beautiful designs for over 4,000 years. You can find the value of the golden ratio by comparing measurements of the pyramid of Khufu. Okay, so one of the earliest examples of the golden ratio is the architecture, is the pyramid of Khufu in Giza, Egypt, built about 2,600 before Christ. Find the approximate value of the golden ratio by finding the ratio of the slant height of the pyramid to half of the length of one side of the base. Okay. And this is the slant height of the base. Okay. This is the slant height of the base. And it's called the slant height simply because if you look at the height, it slants a little bit. Okay. And to be able to find the golden ratio, we get the ratio of slant height over half of the base height of the base length. Okay, so the slant height is 611.54 divided by half the base of the length, which is 1/2 756.08. Okay, that becomes 611.54 over 378.4, which is half of 756.8. Okay, so do you use a calculator, you end up with 1.617659,507. So this is the approximate value of the golden ratio, 1.618. So if you have a ratio that is equal to 1.618, that is considered to be the golden ratio. Okay?